All right, today we're tackling a topic that is literally reshaping the world as we know it. We're talking about the powerful, super complex, and honestly, often misunderstood world of emerging markets. For the longest time, we thought we knew where the world's economic power was. The story was pretty much dominated by a few big players. But that whole story is changing, and it is changing fast. Right now, the real engine of global growth, the thing pushing our whole economy forward, is coming from places that are transforming right before our very eyes. And I'm not talking about a small change here. Get this, 60%. For the last decade, that's how much of the world's economic growth has been driven by these nations. That's way more than just a number. It's proof that the entire economic center of gravity of the planet is shifting. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. We hear this term thrown around constantly, right? But what does it actually mean? What makes a country emerging? So let's break it down. To really get why this is all happening, we need to be on the same page with the definition. What are we truly talking about here? Okay, so at its heart, an emerging market is basically a country that's in the middle of this massive glow-up. It's climbing the ladder, moving from being a developing nation towards being a developed one. And that journey is usually all about super fast economic growth, a boom in industry, and a really key ingredient, opening up its economy to the rest of the world for trade and investment. It's probably best to think of this as a spectrum, not just an on-off switch. You've got developing countries on one end and developed on the other. Emerging markets are in that exciting, dynamic, and yes, sometimes pretty chaotic middle zone. Their income per person is shooting up, but that crazy growth often comes with a lot of volatility, partly because their rules and legal systems are still trying to catch up to the speed of business. So now we know what they are, but a simple definition just doesn't do justice to the sheer impact they're having. Let's really dig into how these countries became the new engine for the whole world economy. I mean, just look at this pie. It tells a huge story. While the big, established economies still make up the majority of global GDP, emerging markets now account for a massive 40% of it. And that piece of the pie, it's getting bigger every single year. And they're not a one-trick pony either. For a long time, we just thought of them as the world's factories, but that's old news. Now they're also becoming the world's biggest shopping malls, all thanks to a new, booming middle class. And they're not just copying tech anymore. In some areas, they're actually leading the way. Think mobile payments, think e-commerce, they're innovators. And of course, they're still the source for so many of the raw materials that make everything else run. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? This isn't some slow, gradual change we're talking about. What we're seeing is a fast, once-in-a-generation reshuffling of who holds the economic cards on a global scale. And when you have a shift this big, it's not just something to read about in the news. It creates massive, real-world opportunities. And that is exactly why businesses and investors all over the globe are paying such close attention. But this isn't just a story about money and markets. At its core, this is a human story. It's the story of hundreds of millions of people joining the middle class, earning real spending money for the first time, and dreaming up a whole new future for themselves and their families. And for investors, that incredible human story, well, it translates directly into the potential for huge returns. Sure, developed markets might give you stability, but the real chance for explosive growth, that often lies in these emerging economies. And that potential is like a giant magnet pulling in money from all corners of the world. But, and this is a really big but, where there's high potential, there's also high risk. This rocket ship ride of change comes with some serious challenges. We absolutely have to look at the other side of this coin. And this pretty much sums up the whole gamble of it all. On one side, you have this incredible opportunity, fast growth, millions of new customers, and young, energetic populations. But on the other side of that coin, you've got some very real dangers, political chaos, rules that change overnight, and deep social divides that could derail all that progress in a heartbeat. So, what does happen next? How do these countries walk that tightrope between amazing opportunity and massive risk? Seriously, the answer to that question is going to define not just their future, but the future of the whole global economy for all of us. Look, if there's one thing you take away from all this, it should be this. Emerging markets aren't the side act anymore. They're a main event. They are a powerful, unpredictable, and undeniable force that is actively shaping the world we live in right now. Which leaves us with one last big question to think about. As this historic shift keeps going, will these nations, with all their amazing potential and all their serious challenges, ultimately own this century? That's the question that's going to define the world for decades to come.